Got it. All right.
Hi, how are you? Happy Friday. It's unpredictable today in the Chicago area. We're supposed to get a lot of snow, but I don't know. Some say 1 to 2 inches, some say 6 to 8 inches. We don't have any idea what we're doing here. So, with that, I just want to say happy Friday, and we're going to make the best of it here in our show. So, Debbie, what are we going to talk about today, and how are you doing?
Well, I just want to warn everybody that my Zoom is doing a little weird stuff right now, and I don't have time to research and figure out what's going on here. So you're gonna hear me, and you may see me looking a little weird. So we're just gonna laugh about it and say TGIF Friday, and it's gonna be okay, right? So, can you hear me okay, Lori? Am I clear at least?
Perfect. You're perfect.
Okay.
Just the blinking's going on.
Okay, so blinking's going on. Looks like I got some major twitching going on or something out here. So I don't know, but we're just gonna, like I said, roll with it. So, we're gonna talk about something crazy. Okay. Lori and I, we talk during the week. We talk about what would be interesting. We come up with things, and we use this magazine a lot that we have, which is about experiencing life, and we both get it. And so we're not making this stuff up, okay? Again, we're not experts. We don't have, we have no degrees in this particular arena, but we know that what we're going to talk about is something that we have experienced or we know somebody around us has, and we go, hey, let's do this, okay? So Lori and I were back and forth about a couple of the topics, and we were like, let's do inflammation. Let's talk about inflammation. Let's talk about chronic inflammation. Let's talk about what it does. Like, what does it do to us? Why is it happening, or do we even know it's happening, that kind of thing. And so some of the ramifications and some of the things that actually we can help make a change. And one of the mottos that we say is be the best version of you, but it's never too late or too early in your lifetime to make some changes. Okay, you can start today, not tomorrow, today. Just making yourself aware, and then again being your own advocate. We repeat this all the time about being your own advocate for yourself so that you can actually figure out and crack the code of what is going on. Okay. So anyways, Laura, here's a great one. What are some of the signs of chronic inflammation? I'm going to send it over to you.
Okay. Well, chronic inflammation could be a lot of things. Swelling of your hands, pain in your joints, stomach issues, intestinal issues are huge. And Deb and I understand that a lot. She has it in her family, and I personally go through that too. Some chronic inflammation, some of it you don't even know you're having, but you just don't feel right. There's just so many different things: depression, fatigue. We talked about gut dysfunctions, headaches, joint pain. There's just a lot in there. And I just want to tell you that, years ago, the one doctor gave me a blood test with a detail of, it was a more detailed blood test than they normally do to just see what's going on in my system. And it came back that I had high chronic inflammation. And that's why I was having problems not losing weight. That was why I had headaches every day. That's why my joints hurt. And I was tired all the time. And what I did about it at that time, I'm to be very honest with you, I looked at the doctor, said, okay, fine. And then I never did anything about it. And that's when my health started getting worse over the years because I didn't go and take care of the problem. And see, this is what Debbie and I are trying to do on our platform here, is trying to teach people to be an advocate for themselves, but to go and take care of themselves before things get out of control. You have anything on that, Deb?
I totally do. There's a segment here in this article that you and I have where it talks about how inflammatory high inflammatory can lead to heart diseases and different things like that. But the blood test that you want to talk about is to the general inflammations in your body is a high sensitivity C-reactive protein, CRP, which measures the inflammatory protein in the blood. So you can ask and request it if you I mean, when you're talking and if you don't have a good relationship with a doctor, then you need to find a new one. Okay. But there are blood doctors. Okay. And I do know one in the Chicagoland area that's in Naperville that if someone needs to get, that information, she actually did live blood analysis that we had done over in Naperville. And that's a whole other platform of story that Lori and I didn't even talk about before that I could have almost brought into this, but it's a lot of information. And if you're interested in that, always you can PM us and we can get it to you. But what causes the inflammation to respond and be chronic? Okay. And that's the thing. What's the root of it all? And that's what we're going to kind of talk about. We're going to talk about some of the things in here that they're talking about, that how it affects your body. So chronic inflammation are in these molecules in your body, which are part of like where the cells and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of very high end information, but it can lead to diabetes. It can lead to the sugars and the levels and all that. And it can actually lead to inflammation that can actually affect your brain. So a lot of people that know how my focus on the brain connect and the gut to brain and the brain in your body and the nerves and all the stuff that I promote, you don't want to stress your brain. Your brain connects so much stuff and your brain does so many things for you. So we got to work on getting it. And I'll tell you what, all of this can also lead to Alzheimer's. It can also lead to inflammatory bowel disease and all these different other things, to heart disease. So anyways, I think we should move over just to talk a little bit about what contributes to the inflammation. So Laura, do you want to kind of?
There's some stuff that I didn't even think about, that I didn't even know. Well, I knew about infection. You get an infection in your body, you get a cut or something, your body, like all your blood cells and everything run to go and try to attack that area. So you get inflammation. You know what? Polluted air and dust could contribute to having inflammation. I never even would have thought of that.
Right.
It's this environmental toxics, disrupted gut microbiome, and excess of visceral fat, which produce inflammatory cytokines. I'm sorry if we don't say these words right.
But yeah.
It's notably the stress hormone cortisol is implicated, the accumulation of visceral fat, which also links chronic stress to runaway inflammation. So there's just a lot of information on inflammation. You really, when you read this, you're like overwhelmed by it, but then you start looking at it and like taking it apart piece by piece, and you're able to understand it a little bit. But yeah, our body, I would say our body is affected the most from inflammation from anything that's going on in the body that's not normal. Wouldn't you say that would be the best way to say it? That anytime that your body's going through something that's not normal, it goes in inflammation mode. And that's where sometimes some of your body doesn't even know it's inflamed, but
True.
Anything on that tab that you see that?
Well, here I was just going to kind of make note of like that leaky gut is one of the main. Okay. And leaky gut, you guys, is pretty broad, but what happens is that our gut regulates also our immune system. So our immune system is a big system that we have to make sure that that's running properly, because when you've got things that come across that you really are not, you're fighting off and stuff. And so when your immune system is exposed to like, bad stuff in your gut, it's like a sewer, and then the bad stuff, your gut to brain health, and then your blood and all that stuff. So, this is something that you got to look at, cleaning up your food, seeing if you have intolerances to something. We did a whole thing on sensitivity, intolerances, and allergic reactions and all that kind of stuff to different foods. Lori and I are made completely different. Everyone out there, your bodies are different. What Lori responds to in a food item and I do are different. And if you can kind of crack the code on knowing what your body like digests best and works with, that's a whole nother thing in a dietitian. But also the whole thing with the blood, so I think that's crazy, because then that brings us right into the diet, and people who eat too much starches and sugars and carbs. It's all about a healthy balance, and some of the things are better than others for you. And, Lori and I also just talked previously before we got on here. We have a really good friend, Linda Lalonde, who has a place in Downers Grove for anybody that lives local, but she does do stuff on Zoom too. So that's good. But she does a lot of nutritional counseling. And so she goes through so many things with you, and she talks about what it is, and then she can kind of help crack the code. And, again, this is going to sound crazy, but Lori and I've said this about 100 times. So many things go like this. They cross over, and sometimes it's a mystery, and sometimes you require having these tests to determine what really is happening. You can maybe change a few things, and maybe you're starting to feel better and you're normalizing and you're feeling things are okay, but it's certainly not a bad idea to really investigate. So bringing that on, oh, Laura, the next one's stress. What about that now? Oh.
Well, we talk about this a million times. Stress. But stress puts so much on your body. It makes you get sick, and it causes inflammation, and then your body is fighting itself, trying to get better. We need to learn how to cope with stress. If it's a matter of doing some exercising, walking away from the computer, anything, just moving your legs, going out for a little walk, just anything to get rid of the stress, because the stress is really killing us. I think stress is probably the number one thing that causes people to have so many issues. But when you're exercising and you're like overdoing it, and you're putting stress on your body, that's not good either. That causes inflammation in your body. There's so many things. If you do this, you go get stress. If you do this, you get stress. What you need to do is kind of take a look at what you're doing, write it down, and think about how that's affecting your body, and kind of come up with a plan. Again, it's being an advocate for yourself. I don't know what else to say except to go and see somebody like Linda Lalonde, or somebody that can help you get in the right path, in your doctor or whatever. But you have to deal with the stress, because it's just going to end up killing you.
Well, and there's a profound thing in here. It says stress induced by poor sleep and loneliness is also a well-known inflammation trigger. And so there's so much, and also, all the different natural things in our body, and like you mentioned, the cortisone, like that cortisol, or however you say that, like how people carry that in their middle, and a lot of it's actually been claimed that from stress that happens, but then it's now producing and getting you to be inflamed. It's like, oh my God, I mean, you really, but you know what? If you really think about it, we all do bad things. We all eat bad things. We have bad habits. We have one thing too, Lori, about the environment, the EMF, the magnetic fields that we get from the 5G, the 10G, the phones and all that kind of stuff, all the toxins that we take in, I mean, I guess if we start talking about it like this, we're like, oh my God, we could scare ourselves so much. But you just got to do the best that you can to improve and eat right and sleep right and drink lots of water and flush your system. And, it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, it can be a vicious cycle, I think, as a matter of fact, but.
Yeah, but you drink a lot of water, and I always look up to you that you do that. You do so great with that. You're a great role model for a water drinker.
I try, you guys. I got my bottle right here with my mint and my, I love cucumber in there. Cucumber and mint together with water is so good,
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, let's just move on to a few quickie things about like, how can you manage it a little better too? What are some of the key factors, which we just kind of mentioned in some of the things we said.
Right. And that is eating well, okay?
Yeah.
is your foundation for everything and managing your inflammation. You know, the things that drinks, you know, such a yogurt, have fermented cottage cheese, vegetable brine drinks, and they're just saying a lot of drinks mixture, like Debbie says, with the mint and everything. And teas are good, you know, just all that kind of stuff. Eating well, lots of vegetables, just a lot of things. Stay away from too much carbohydrates. So the carbs are a big, huge thing. And that will help you with your inflammation if you eat right and you're drinking, like Debbie said, flushing out your system. Do you have anything on that, Deb?
I just wanted to add, I remember reading an article about carbonated beverages. Okay. And I know that like we all like those. Sometimes you want that fizz. Sometimes you want that. Maybe you want the one that's got the fizz plus the alcohol. I don't know. But I'm just saying you got to really limit those. Like don't be mindful. Everything in moderation, you guys, you know, everything in moderation. Are we saying that, oh, you can't eat and go out to dinner and splurge some, but you need to keep your clean habits all week. And then, you know, if you're doing that on the weekend or you're doing that on occasion, it's not going to throw your body into this craze, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I just want to say one thing. You don't realize it. You think that, you know, you're doing all these, eating these bad things and everything. You know who it's hurting? It's hurting yourself.
right,
It's hurting yourself. That's all you're doing. You know?
right.
And it's true. But let's go into, we talked about sleep. Well, sleep's huge.
Yeah, huge.
That before, and you know, people with high blood pressure and diabetes and all that, they have a hard time with inflammation. Even like people with lupus or any of those things have a hard time. So the more you sleep and the more you rest, your body's going to go get better. It's going to be, the inflammation's going to go down. I have to now. That's my new thing. As much as I hate it, because I hate to sleep, because I'd rather be doing something. I've been taking naps every afternoon. I've been resting my because of my surgery and everything. And you know what? I see a big difference with me if I'm just laying around for a few hours. It's huge. Can't even tell you. It's huge. I am getting more, or how do I want to say it? I am getting farther in my recuperation from my surgery because of the rest that I'm doing as well as my exercise. Again, in moderation.
Well, think about it. A newborn baby or a child, you know, needs that because that rest and they grow during that time and they rejuvenate. But we need to do the same thing. We need to rejuvenate. So they say what, 15, 20-minute rest is better than doing hours because you sometimes get too lazy then. But if you get that burst, then you get more of a burst of energy, you know?
And I would rather now have the energy and do what I got to do than trying to fight feeling better. Because it's twice as long, you know?
I agree with you. I agree with you totally, you know?
So, want to go on to the next subject, Deb?
Sure, moving. Oh my goodness gracious. You know what stays in motion keeps in motion, guys. And I've been saying that like all week. I feel like I've been using that phrase, but it's so important because, you know, our bodies need that physical movement. And anybody who's more sedentary, and there are people that have to be for certain reasons, but anything that you do that you get up and you're moving and you're getting the blood flow going and you're getting your body functioning, it says it right here. It decreases inflammation and fat around the blood cells, helping to ward off heart disease. You know, it also is really big for that, you know, serotonins and things like going on, that it's your attitude, your anxiety, your anything that you're going through. So it all crosses over. Stress is the biggest culprit. We've all been stressed out. We talked about that affecting inflammatory, but if you're getting the workout in, and I'm not saying that you have to go run a marathon, take a leisurely walk, keep moving, or get a stationary bike or a treadmill, go in next door neighbor and find one if you don't have one. You know, there's lots of ways that you could do things and get that done, because I'm telling you right now, you know, when you work out and you move, you increase your stamina, you're happier, and everything all is connected. It's one big connection, So Laura, I know you're killing it because you're getting going. And you guys, Lori 2 weeks ago had her second knee done. Think about this. She's moving around. She's doing a bunch of stuff. And this is aiding her healing. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it is. But you know what? We have to give Debbie some recognition. She's already out starting to ride her bike again when the weather. And it's just fascinating to hear. I laugh. I'm just picturing, there's Debbie riding her bike. Get up in the morning, ride her bike, which is great. But she's moving. It's great. We're moving. I was so happy yesterday. I was able to go in the grocery store and able to walk with a shopping cart. I haven't done that in a few years. I've had to ride the riding cart and stuff. And yeah, it's different. And I laugh because people are nicer to you when you're riding in the shopping in the riding cart than when you're pulling a shopping cart. People are running into me yesterday. But I'm just saying it was great. It was an exercise for me, and it's like I felt better, and we just have to move a little bit more. We've gotten to be people where we're just sitting in front of those computers, and we have to move because that's going to help with our stress. That's going to help with everything. And it is also, inflammation is huge because people could die from inflammation, too much inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to talk about something else, Deb? It says here.
Well, you know what? It said relax. I mean, we talked about that just a little bit before. So we kind of did the nap sleep situation we were kind of talking about. And, honestly, I just think, in big bold circle here, like you just said, Lori, it even says research says that preventing chronic inflammation, doing the moderate things is one big key. Everything we talked about, everything that we touched on, everything that is out there that you guys can research, things that we didn't even say a word about or didn't even put, in here, is like hopefully prompting you to make a decision to dig in and check. Right. I think one of the biggest things that people can do as they're busy is ignore signs of things. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when you ignore the signs and you don't take action, then you're coming back and you're saying, wow, I wish I would have. And you can't bring back that lost time. Okay. And the damage can get worse. Now you could say, oh, the damage is already done. Yes and no, because you know what? If you correct some of the habits, if you correct some of the things you're doing, you can put yourself in a better place. Like maybe you won't be like you were when you were 20. Okay. Or maybe you are 20 and you're suffering and you've got a whole life ahead of you. Don't waste any time. That's all we're saying. Don't waste any time. Right, Laura? What do you got to say on that?
Well, I totally agree. For somebody that wasted so much of her time, me, has so much health issues that I'm trying to get cured every single day with all these doctors. And I tell my kids and stuff, I go, you got to take care of yourself because, you're going to get my age and you're going to have all these problems. And it's like, I can't explain it. It's like if I could have went back in my life, what I would have changed. And that was that all the signs were there, but I didn't do anything about it. I didn't want to face I was a diabetic at 40 years old. So what I do is take any medications or anything till I was in my 50s when my blood sugar was so high and my inflammation was so high. So that's all I want to say. That's my advice. You got to do it. You got to take care of yourself. You got to be an advocate for yourself.
And I have one more thing to add, and without just kind of quick, is that I think that a lot of people have to have a reality check. And I know, Lori, you're doing that, and I'm constantly doing that. And we're looking at like, okay, have we put on too much weight? Do we need to get that off? That's not healthy on your body. The extra weight puts the stress on everything. Almost anything that you read that's not good, it talks about having extra weight. And so extra weight can cause some more inflammation because, your body is just, stretching and it's got like whatever. But also sometimes, guys, and we're not going to be, again, we're not doctors or we're advocates, but we're not doctors or experts. Be very mindful to actually do a big reality check on what your medications are, because some people are on medications that are unnecessary, or they're on a medication because that medication needs to be because you have a side effect for this, and so you got to go on that. And anybody who listens to me and Lori on some of the stuff that we've been learning, and with some of the company that we've been doing a bunch of stuff with, there's alternate things. Okay, now I am not going to be somebody that's going to say that I could tell you anything on what you're doing or whatever, as far as it's just that you need to do an evaluation. Okay, and you may need to do it with not just a traditional doctor. You may need to do it with somebody like Linda Lalonde, like with neutral, natural stuff, and then follow our stuff. And we can always talk about some of the other things that we know about with the brain. So I'm telling you, there's a lot. This could have been like a 5-part segment. There's so much. But with that, Laura, I'm gonna say, hey, you want to close us out?
I sure do. I just want to say again, make sure that you guys take care of yourselves. And you know what? Life could be so much easier without having to deal with how you're feeling. It helps us deal with all the things that are going on. But with that, I'm going to say, everyone have a great weekend. And I hope we don't get as much snow as we thought. But you take care. God bless you. Oh, and I'm Lori.
And I'm Debbie.
And we're Friends Helping Friends. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.